This is Michael Orrell of MobileBurn.com, and today I have the Samsung SCH-U750 Alias 2 for Verizon Wireless. The Alias series of phones is all about messaging, and they feature a unique dual flipping hinge design. The key feature of the U750, the new Alias 2, however, is an e-ink based keypad that changes based on the orientation of the display. But before we get into all that high-tech wizardry, let's take a look at the basic layout of the device. We've got volume control and a voice dial button here on the left side. There's a proprietary Samsung data and power port. We have a 2.5mm headset jack. On the right edge is the power button. Because of the weird hinge design, it's not really easy to get a power button up top. We've also got a hold button for disabling the touch-sensitive media control buttons up here. And also we have a micro SD card slot. Nothing much on the back of the device except for a ridged pattern. 2-megapixel camera up front. Square display, it's color, but not all that impressive looking. And overall the design of the device is a bit outdated looking. It kind of has a look of a phone, one of Verizon's early 3G phones from a few years back. It's not really sexy, but it does have that really cool form factor that we're going to show you. We're going to open up the device. You can see it opens up like a normal clamshell phone, but there's really nothing typical about this. It does have a fairly standard, if large, QVGA display, but you take a look at the keypad. Everything here is very, very different. There's no dedicated D-pad. Instead, what we have here is a grid of buttons, and all these buttons can change layout based on the e-ink technology. Let's try to get a little closer. And the great thing about e-ink is it's really like electronic paper. It requires a backlight, as you can see. It just faded off, but once the pixels are set in where they're supposed to be, to show whatever layout the phone needs, it requires no power to maintain it. So, we can turn the phone off and it's going to stay just like this. However, when we flip it around in the communicator style, everything can be rewritten. And one of the cool things is, you can see it's changing dynamically. I'm going to change the layout button here. And you can see how we can just switch back and forth between QWERTY and numeric form. It's really quite cool, and it's pretty fast. There's that flash flicker kind of thing going on, but the buttons are pretty well used. I do take exception with the fact that unused buttons still make the same beep as used ones, which I think that's a bit of a UI issue. But in general, you see everything lines up pretty well. We've got soft keys here, dedicated buttons for Bluetooth, alarms, and games down here. And of course, you have the same kind of functionality when you flip it open this way. OK button is duplicated down here as well, and the two soft keys. Really kind of cool. And the flexible keypad design like this gives them the ability to put extra buttons in, for dedicated voice dialing button, speakerphone button, the camera camcorder button. And pretty easy to read. In terms of using it as a regular phone, maybe a little bit more difficult just because you don't have the same kind of guidance. It's just everything's just one big grid of buttons here. But when it comes to QWERTY input, I find that this QWERTY layout really works well. It's something, it feels very good, very normal. You've got the wide space bar still. The keys have a nice feel to them. It really works quite well. What this system lacks, however, are the dedicated hardware buttons you expect to find for call send, call end, clear. There are buttons here now, but they're just lost in a sea of other similar square buttons. Another minor UI glitch is even when you're in a system, like the menu here, some other part of the phone, these buttons, like the camera button, are still here, still showing the camera icon, but they don't work. Obviously, the phone has the ability to turn things on and off. It's just the designers didn't get that far in terms of making things quite accurate. I should be able to control the speakerphone, you would think, from here, but nothing happens. No beep, but even though we have a beep with the camera. So a lot of inconsistencies here, but they're on to something in general.